This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so we saw the way where we had a list, right? And we created a dictionary yesterday out of it. Now, if I using dot from keys, now if I'm going to use the same example or same from keys, but maybe in a different way. So do you think I can do this? From keys, and what was my last one? Keys. Okay, so let's see what happens now. I have to put this into comments. Okay, let's run it. I'm not printing anything, so it's still printing the old stuff. Print set. Okay, so as you see, we got the same output what we saw yesterday, right? The none is because I'm not providing any value. Let me actually go ahead and provide some value. I'm gonna say 0 to 7. Happened. Doesn't like 007. Okay, so this is how you get the output, just like we saw yesterday. The only difference here is, did anybody notice that I used the dict keyword and I did not use the um, sorry, yeah, the dictionary way. So the difference that I'm trying to highlight is that in this format, I had to first initialize the dictionary. By initialization, I mean, if you look at this, this is an empty dictionary, right? Or in other words, I have initialized it. This is more like C language, but empty dictionary is the Python way of saying it. But in Z, did I give anywhere Z is equal to this? No, right? But that is the beauty of Python. The, when you give remember we saw in dictionary there are two ways to create dictionaries. One was this, and then the other was using the dict function, right? So I'm using the same function here as well, or dict keyword. So that is the point here, guys, that when you explicitly tell Python that, hey, my Z or my Z is going to be nothing but a form of dictionary data element, then you don't need to initialize it as 0, or basically initialize it as empty. But when you're using it like this and you don't have any prior concept of why in this program, then Python gets confused because now you're passing keys and you're using a from keys function. And the from keys function we all know is going to respond back with a dictionary value. So in that case, the Python interpreter cannot understand what should be the y. So that's why we have to declare it as an empty dictionary first, or rather, in other words, we're telling it that, hey, y is a dictionary element. But in this case, we don't have to do it, even though we're using from keys, because we're telling it explicitly by the keyword called dict, that or function called dict, that I am going to use z as dictionary. So even if you wanted to type, see what is the type of dictionary, you can do that. Although I don't need to now. What am I doing? Print type Z. You can clearly understand it actually from the output that it is a dictionary. See, it's a class dictionary. So that is pretty much for dictionaries. I think I just wanted to send this out because sometimes they ask in interview questions, what is the difference between this and the way this, and why do you need this actually? So that is the answer, because if you directly give this line, it doesn't know that it knows that from key is returned as dictionary, but it doesn't know what your y is. So that's the most important thing. All right. So I'm gonna quickly go ahead and go with the range today and some more control structures. So what is a range? Simply define, range is basically used for numbers, or in other words, integer data types. So remember that, guys, you don't want to use range on strings or anything else, not even for float. Let me go ahead and put this, not even for float. It won't work. It'll only work on integers. Now you might think, why is Ankit telling something that is only working for one data type, and what is the real importance of it? Believe me, you use range in almost every program that you're going to write from now on. So this is very, very important, guys. And Just somebody was asking about matplotlib. So NumPy, another uh, package like matplotlib, is very widely used in data science. That is mostly built on range function. I'm gonna write it. NumPy is built mostly on range function. So you can call it as a function. It's an inbuilt function. And all it does is, we'll see quickly what it does, but what I want to tell you is, let me hover it here. So if you look at it, it says range, and then it says stop. So if you read it, range, object, range, start, stop, step, and range object. So what it does, return an object that produces a sequence of integers from start to stop by step. So it is sounds confusing, but always remember it. Let me actually first give this syntax. So guys, again, don't get confused with the strings and the other things that we have done, and we have seen this. There, it was a different concept. Here, it is slightly different concept. It works a similar way, but the concept is different. So try to follow along. What it means is that if you, so basically, again, let's say I was doing range 1 comma 100. All it means is that it is going to give me all the numbers starting from 1 to up till 99. Spelling range. So that's what range function does. So see, if you were to give like a list, for example, right, and such big numbers, you're going to type it 1, 2, 3, 4 up till 99. Doesn't make sense. Just do range 1 comma 100 and you'll get all the numbers. So that is the whole idea of the range function. Now, how that works is this is a formula. Remember this, guys. So minimum you need to give one element. So range cannot exist like this. It will give you an error for sure. So at least it needs the stop element. See, this is the difference. In strings, if you guys remember all this were optional. You can leave everything, but not in range. That's why I said it's a similar concept, but a little different. So make sure you remember it, that we have to give the stop value in range. Start could be zero, or by default it's zero. You don't care about it, but you have to give the stop value. So what I mean is, if I give range of 10, it boils down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And similarly, actually I can write that one, 6, 7, 8, 9. Again, as you have guessed it by now, it stops at one value less, whatever you give. This was 1 comma 100. So always remember this, guys, that range needs minimum one argument, which is the not the start value, but it is the stop value. So see here, if you gave 10, it started from 0 and it stopped at 9. And we'll see all of this, but I'll have to go to for loop. So that's why I'm just telling you, right? Or maybe, you know what, let me just, so for now, just see how we are printing the range. Forget about what the for loop is. If we get to it today, we might be able to do it. But see how I'm printing it or how it is storing it inside. See, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like I told you. So because I only gave the stop value. Now let me reduce this. So what it means is nothing but this. That it starts from 1 and stops at 10. Let me prove it to you. See, it starts from 1, stops at 9. So when you give the start value, it doesn't start from 0. But when you don't give the start value, it starts from 0. That is a simple concept. So again, simply put, now what you can do, you can even start from 5. So now what will be my output? It will only print 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Let's see. See? So it's a very simple concept. Start value, stop value, and step value. We'll come to step value in a second, but it's the same thing that you guys already know. But if you don't give, or if you give just one parameter, always remember it cannot be start value because you have to give a end value, right? You cannot print to infinite numbers. So what if you don't give anything? So let's say I gave 8. What should be my output?
0 to
Anyone?
7.
Exactly. See? Because apply the same logic, it is the stop value, not the start value. And always start value is 0 if not explicitly given. So it starts
So
from
always
0 and
minus one.
goes to, yes, always. That's the Python way, or actually almost all languages have that, right? Even in string, that you start from 0 and go till length minus 1. But yeah, the same concept. So when I write stop, it means it will always stop at one value before. So that is the important idea of range. And now, by now, you would have guessed it, as we have seen in step all the time in strings. All it does is the same thing, just increase it by 2. So what should be the, so we saw when it was 1 to 10, it was this output, right? So what should it be now? You can easily guess it.
It should be 1 to 9 with 2 to 2.
Not 2 to 2. So step value means you're adding it to it,
Yeah.
or you're basically jumping one. So you're getting 1, 3, then 5, then 7, and then 9. So similarly here. So if I do it as step value as 3, so now you're jumping 3 value. So 1, 2, 3. So it will be 4 and then 8, I think. 1, 4, and 7. Sorry, I calculated it wrong. So that's how it is. So step value is very simple. It has whatever you want it to print and however you want it to print it. You just keep changing the step value. So that is the range function. And those of you who did not understand it, don't worry. We'll see for loop probably today, and then you can
So,
understand it.
so Ankit, for
Yeah.
that step value, we need to give integer only.
Yes. Range only works on integer data type. It cannot take float. It cannot take negative. I think it can take negative. Let me see. Even I forgot about it. Minus 10. Yeah, it can take negative. Sorry. Because anyway, that's integer, right? It just cannot take float values. So if you were going to give this as 10.89, I think it should error out. What happened? Yeah. See, it's an error. Float object cannot be interpreted as an integer. So range always uses integers. That's the number one rule. That's the only rule actually. And that's why your NumPy is also uses only in integers and numbers mostly. Well, it uses other stuff as well, but I'm not going to talk about it right now. So, like I said, not even float. It cannot take anything else. The remember, only thing is your concepts are all clear about this. The only thing is in difference here is we have to give one value, and that value has to be the stop value. And how I'm told myself, I don't know if it makes sense to you guys. If you don't tell Python an end value or a stop value, that means you're asking it to print till infinity. That is not possible, right? So that's how I explained it to myself, or to memorize it, or whatever you can say, that it definitely needs one value and it has to be the stop value. It can start from 0, but it has to stop somewhere because it cannot be infinite. So that's why we give a value. So for example, now if you wanted to give 100, it will print everything from 0 to 99. See? And if you keep, if you wanted to just print from, let's say 50, like start from 50 and print every value by step 5. Let's see. See, you're getting only everything by 5, steps by 5, and starting from 50. It's very simple, guys. It's really nothing. But just practice it a bit so that you understand the concept very well. And like I said, it's used. Oh, the one thing I wanted to tell about it before I finish it is you might get confused. You might get sometimes asked in interview, or some people might be referring to it as X range. So X range doesn't exist anymore in Python 3. This was in Python 2.x version. And this used to work a little different, but you don't have to worry about it because it's all gone. So just remember, you cannot use X range anymore. It's not for py 3.x, only for py 2.x. Okay. So with this, we have covered basic data structures. Remember the first day I was showing you my Word document, all the data types or data structures, as they say, are covered. So now we are going to jump on to control statements. Does anybody have any question on range before I go there? Oh, that's good. So what are the so guys, from today we are going to start some real good topics. So I want well, all of you guys I know are already coming in these classes, but yeah, now it's more important so you don't miss these because now we are going to implement all of these things in one and see how it works. Now we are actually, you can say, starting some real programming from today onwards. So we'll be seeing if else and for loops and whatnot. And half of your programming is that. Then the rest, half that is left out of that 30 to 40% is functions, which is the most important topic. And actually, most people argue that you don't even need OOPS concepts. You can actually just use control statements and functions to finish a job. And that is correct. I hardly use object-oriented programming classes and stuff in my programming. You can achieve the same thing, but still, for the complete for the state of the course, I will finish that, and that's basically just hardly 10% that you would ever use. And it's up to you. If you want to use it, you can use it. If you don't want to use it, you always have functions and control statements available for you. So what are the control statements in Python or in general? So simply put, if, else, and then there is elif. This was not used to be there in C for some people, but if you're from Java background, you will know. Similarly, for, while. Sometimes I hate this Visual Studio also for this. What else? Break, then continue, and pass. So most of you guys who have some knowledge,
But case
what was it again?
case is case.
So case and switch doesn't exist in
Okay.
Python. No switch in Python basically. That's why you don't have the other stuff. We'll see how you can do it, but it doesn't exist. So switch. What happened? Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Switch. Yeah. So these are all your conditional statements. Now, most of you would not, who have some background, would know break and continue, but would not know pass. And pass is very simply put, as the name says, if you're writing a code, for example, you're writing something, multiple lines, and then suddenly you think, I don't know what I'll be doing with this variable or what I'll be doing. So you just do not even print. You just write, come on, what happened? Pass. That's it. So what it means is it's going to keep continuing after whatever you have written. It won't worry about whether the condition passed or not. It just simply continues after. That's all pass means. But we'll see with some examples. But that's a new thing in Python, or I don't know if it exists in Java or not, but not in C++. So, like I said, no switch in Python. That's one important thing you have to remember. There is a way to do it. We'll talk about it later, but not anything as of now. So now I'm going to write, for example, a program. Now this is like a real program, and you guys will see how we do if else, for example. So we're going to use if else. Very basic. So we all know, right? I'm just taking an example of voting. You can take anything. If a person has to vote in India, or US has different things, but I'm just going to keep India. So he has to be, what should be the age? Should be more than 18, right? To be able to vote. So now we are going to make a voting system where you're just going to check simple thing that the age, whether the person's age is greater than 18 or not. If it is, then we'll print yes, he's eligible to vote. If not, then we're going to print no. Very simple example, but that will tell you how if works. And I want to tell you a bit more stuff as well. So first I need a variable. Okay. So I'm going to put 14, for example. I'm just initializing the variable with 14 value. Now I'm saying if age equal to 18, print whatever, I'll come to it later. So first of all, what I'm saying is when I do three concepts here, guys. First of all, when I say age is equal to 14, this single equal to means it's an assignment operator. What it means is it assigns the value on your right hand side to the variable on the left hand side. Simply put. So always remember, single equal to sign is an assignment operator. But a double equal to or a equal to followed by an equal to, whatever you want to call it, is called as comparison operator. So this is called as comparison operator. What it means is that if this value, the value of this variable is exactly matching the variable on the right. So it's comparing whether you're equal or not. Remember, this is not comparing, this is assigning the value. But here we are comparing the value, whether the value of age is really equal to 18 or not. If it is, then whatever is followed is gonna work. So remember, this is what we mean by comparison operator. But actually we don't need this because even a person greater than 18 also can vote, right? So we use another comparison operator, which is called greater than equal to. You guys must be familiar with this and from maths and all, right? So all it means is either it can be equal to 18 or it can be greater than 18. Then you can say you are allowed to vote. So if I run this program right now, do you think this will work? Would I get this line? Simple, guys.
Yeah, it should be.
Shouldn't
As per
work
logic.
it's less than 18.
No, look at it. So my age is 14. Is it greater or equal to 18? No, right?
Means nothing will be there, but it should be
Exactly.
working.
Yeah, there won't be error, correct.
Yeah.
Let's see. But there's no output either. See why? Because it just checked this and it didn't work. So it didn't print this. So remember, guys, even though I had this print statement, but it is not printing here. Why? Because that's the thing what if statement does. Now pay attention here. This is a very important thing in syntax. And this will continue in for loop and everything, even in functions and everywhere. This is Python's way of doing it. So when you write a condition, so this is a condition, right? This whole thing is a condition, if you want to call it. So when you write a condition using if or whatever you want to call it, you always put a colon by it because you are going to tell the interpreter that boss, I have a condition. Now what a condition is, right? A condition can result into multiple things. For simplicity, we'll just keep for two things, for example, for now. Either it's a true or it's a false condition, right? But it still has two options. So that's what this colon operator tells Python that now I'm going to expect at least a minimal of one condition out of the two condition, at least a minimal of one. Otherwise, if you don't provide anything, it's gonna error out. So this is your syntax. Now, if I did it like this, there was a reason why VS Code automatically pushed the print by 4 spaces. It will error out. Indentation error, expected an indented block, like it says clearly here. So whenever you have a colon, doesn't matter you have if, you have for, you have whatever you have, whenever you have a colon in Python, you are mandatorily supposed to give 4 spaces or one tab. Again, guys, some keyboards have tabs put to 8 spaces, so that won't work. So make sure you use tab or you use 4 spaces. Most of the IDs actually take care of this for you. So like you saw, right, when the moment I wrote this and I put enter, it automatically gives a 4 space in VS Code. So you can use you can rely on one of those IDs as well. But this is very important. Most of the times when you see such errors, it will clearly say it's an indentation error. So you know you're missing a space. So even if let's say you gave only 3 space, 1, 2, 3, it will still error out. Okay, it didn't print because it's not set for that. But most of the other IDs will error out. 1 second. So now let's come to the second part. So we are not printing anything. Why? Because our age is clearly 14 and we are asking if it is greater than or equal to. So what is my second condition? So for second condition, all I can say is else. So if this, else means if not, right? And remember another thing, else never takes any condition. It will never have. So if has a condition, you saw that, but else will never have a condition. It will always be followed by the colon. Again, colon, because we have to tell that we are not done yet. You are not allowed to vote. Simple. So now you guys think this should be printed?
Yes.
There you go. So what is happening here? So age is 14. So the Python interpreter comes here. Age means 14 is greater or equal to 18. No. So it is not printing this because it will only go here if this statement or condition is true. So if it is false, it will look for else. And else is telling me to print this. So that's how we are getting print. You're not allowed to vote. Let's say if I change this to less than or equal to, now I'm saying hypothetically, of course, this doesn't exist, but I'm saying just for example, that this condition is becoming true. So now this won't be printed, rather this would be printed. See, now it's saying you're allowed to vote. So you have to be very careful about when you're doing real programming, you have to be very careful about the conditions that you put. This can take you from anywhere to anywhere. Just now you saw, right? If somebody was using this, then the whole voting system is screwed. You're basically allowing kids to vote. So it is very important to choose your conditions very, very wisely. This looks very simple example, but like I said, right, just a little bit of change, it can change everything for your whole program. So now you can say, Ankit, now we're only checking for 14. What about other numbers, right? So we have to keep going on and changing this number. So if I wanted to check if you're 70 years old, will this program still work? Yeah, it will work, but I have to keep changing the value here. So what I make it dynamic in the sense, right now it's static because I'm giving a static value, right? 70 or 18 or 40 or 24. But what if I make this dynamic? Or in other words, I ask the user itself, the user of this program, to input a value. And then I check for that value, whether that value is this, whether that value follows this condition or not. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this into this, and there's a function called as input operator, input function, sorry, in Python. So what it does, you guys can read it here. Read a string from standard input, the trailing line is forget about that, all that. So basically, it is going to read your input from the command line. This is my command line, guys, or your command line. So whatever you give here, so right now it won't read because I'm just giving something and it is printing out. That's all. But we have to use the input function in a way that it starts reading this value, and then we'll store it in the variable, maybe age or whatever you want to use it, and then simply go from there. So let's say age is equal to input, and it can take a string like this just to make it, beautiful. Enter the age. Okay. So let's see if this will work. All right. So you saw the difference. Let me rerun it again. Now it stopped. It did not print anything, but it is actually interacting with me. So it's dynamic now. Now it's asking me to enter the age. Until I do this, it won't go further. It won't print anything. So let's say I gave our example of 70. Okay. What do you guys think? Will it work? Will it get, what will be my output? Will it be this or will it be this?
It will be else statement.
It will be else statement. No, I'm giving 70, 70.
Okay.
First one. Hello to.
Yeah, it will be that.
Okay. So remember this, guys. This is another interview question. This is going to give me this is not going to work. Let's see. It is saying type error greater equal to not support between instances of string n. Now you will be confused because we did not change any. See, the error is actually here in line number 7. It says, right? You see that? But I did not change anything here, right? I just commented this and I added this line, and this line was working because it asked for the input and it worked. So remember this, guys. This is very, very, very important. This is also an interview question. The input function, if you read it, reads a string from standard input. Standard input is another name of command line. So this is standard input. So what it says, reads a string from standard input. What does it mean? Can anybody take a guess?
It
So
treats it as a string.
yes. So whatever you are inputting
Input is
here,
always a string. Yeah.
yes, input is always taken as a string. So this line works fine. Even this logic is fine. But why is it failing? Because age is actually treating 40, whatever I gave, 70 as a string. And you cannot compare a string with an integer, right? You're comparing a string with an integer. That's why the type error says explicitly not supported between instances of string and int. So what can we do? We all have seen this so many times, right?
Yeah, typecast.
Exactly. So we change the type to, sorry, I'm using the type operator, to int. In this case, because we want
Integer.
integer. Let's see now it works or not. Now, same example, same output, same input, 70. See, you're allowed to vote. Let's run it again. Let me give this time 14. You're not allowed to vote. Simple. So now the same thing is working, guys, because now I have converted. So you might ask, Ankit, we are still giving integer input only. That's correct. But the way input functions in Python is it stores this 70 as characters, sorry, as string. It doesn't store it as integer. So actually, if I remove this, your age internally would be stored as this. And remember, we have seen, right? When you are under single or double quotes, it doesn't matter what are you inside. It just uses that blatantly. So now when we use this to convert it basically, now it is actually storing it as this, and that is what we needed in this program. So similarly, if you wanted to have a float variable, you can use float, whatever you want. You just have to give that data type here. But always remember this, guys, input always stores the value as string. Now, if I did this, do you think this will work? I'm removing the int, so that means I'm asking it to, so let's not concentrate about print statements. Let's just concentrate about the difference here. So now I'm saying enter the age, and I'm putting if age is equal to Ankit. Let me put a little bit. Let's do name here.
Yeah, it
Guys,
will work.
okay,
It will
but
work,
usually,
Ankit, if you enter Ankit in the
right?
input.
Yeah. So hold on, guys. That's what I was gonna do. So now it's asking for. It's
It will
still
not
saying
work. It will print you are not allowed to vote.
it is. I always say this. Sorry, what is that?
It
Somebody
will
said you're
not
not
work.
allowed.
It will not. You are not allowed to vote.
We'll see. It says you're allowed to vote because I removed the int. So
Yeah,
now it is
condition is
treating it
matched
as a
now.
string. Exactly. So
Yes.
now what is happening here is Ankit equal to Ankit, right? It is. See? Sorry, I missed the. That is what name stores now. Name is storing as Ankit. So of course this matches, correct? But here I don't need any explicit type casting or type conversion because we know input always uses string. Now tell me, will this work?
Instead of 70, we
Will
can
this
write
work?
7. It will work well.
No, 70 is gone. Forget that. We are not in integers anymore. We're talking about strings here. So
No,
now
I'm
look
saying
at
it
this.
should
No,
work.
it won't work because it's case sensitive. Python is case sensitive.
Okay.
Exactly. That's why it goes to you're not allowed to vote because now I'm comparing this and this is not right. The first alphabet itself won't match. So that's why it is going to the else part and it is printing you're not allowed to vote. Very simple, guys. There's nothing much typical or anything about it, right? But let's say, okay, I'll come to it later. But everybody understood if else concept and this input, how it works?
Yeah. Yes, Ankit.
Okay, perfect. So now when I'm saying we're talking about conditions, right? So let me actually go ahead and put this under comment. So now we're saying, so for if basically everything works using condition, or actually in general, we're talking about conditions. Sorry guys, I have to take a call. So just I'll put you guys on mute 1 second. Sorry guys, I had to take the call. So conditions is the main thing here. So now when we talk about conditions, what are basically conditions? What are we talking here? So always remember we have to use this like I was showing you in if, right? The condition is always followed by colon. And what are the operators you can use? We saw equal to, equal to, we saw greater than equal to. Similarly, we can use less than equal to, and there's one more. So what it means, you might call it bang, some people call it bang, some people call it not, but basically all
Not
it means
equal to.
is yes, not equal to. So it's the same example. If I would have used not equal to and Now I give small a, so it's still saying me you're allowed to vote. So it's still going here because small a nkit is not equal to caps a nkit. That means this condition is becoming true now. So whenever it is true, it goes to the first statement. But earlier when we had this, right, and we gave the same input, it was going to this condition because now it is checking this condition is true. No, right? Because small a is not equal to caps A. So that's why it's not printing this, rather it's printing the else statement. So not equal to also helps sometimes, depending on your logic of your program, whatever you want to write. It is as simple as that. You have to just keep it in mind. So these are mostly your comparison or conditional operators that you would be using all the time. And the other thing is you have to give a tab after the condition. These are the two important things that you have to remember syntax wise. And we always use colon. You cannot forget that. So any questions here? Anything that you did not understand? This is very important, guys. I know it's very basic for some people, but I want to make sure everybody understands it.
So one question, Ankit.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the numbers, if you are giving the number, right, input number in the program,
Yeah.
the Python is identifying whether it is an integer or a float or a string, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But if I'm inputting from the program, from the
Yeah.
terminal,
Yeah.
so by default, it is taking it as a string value.
Correct. Correct.
Then we are
We're converting it.
converting to integer or a float, right?
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly.
yeah. So in
If
the
you look
program,
at
if
this,
I give the numbers, it's dynamic.
if the program, like you mean, if you already define in the
Yeah, if
program
I
like
define
this,
any number in the program, it is dynamic.
no, this is
It's
static,
taking
right?
dynamic. Yeah.
Because you're, no, this is static because you're already telling age to be 40. So how can it be dynamic?
No.
Dynamic would be,
I mean that number is converting it as a dynamic. The Python is taking it as it's identifying if it is a integer number or a float number or a string number. Is it a string value?
oh, you're saying this when we do this, Python. Yes. So what happens is, right, Python. So again, back to my
So
first class.
yeah, my
When
question
you,
is,
Mhm.
if I enter from the input, right? Uh,
Yeah,
is there any way the Python can? I don't have to convert that into integer, float, or something from in the program. Without that,
yeah.
mm, if I input the number
Mhm.
from the terminal, the
I got a
Python
question what you're saying. That
can
it
Python
automatically understand if it is
automatically understand.
integer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
there is
That is my
none.
question.
No, there is no way. The reason is you always have to use input function to interact with the standard output or the CLI. Standard input, sorry, not output.
So, Ankit, can't we
Yeah.
use integer in the input value itself? I mean, in my the code itself, like where you say name equals to input and you mention enter the name. If there itself, if I mention integer, so that value will be restricted
Um,
and taken as an integer itself.
mention where here? You're saying in this?
Yes, outside that, if I mean not sure, but yeah, if I define that whatever value it would be automatically converted into integer and then assigned to age.
So that's what we do, right? One second. I think I'm not getting a question. So that's how we do.
Yeah, like that,
We're doing
like
it.
that. So
Yeah.
this way, whatever input has been given, I mean, as in in the terminal by the user, it will
Yeah.
automatically be converted into integer and assigned to age.
Yeah. Correct. And that's what we were doing, right? That is the way. So you can do int here, you can do float, you whatever you want data structure. You have to explicitly tell right here only. I did not
Yeah.
do age is equal to int or something like that, like a second
Okay.
line. So you always do it when you're giving the input statement. You know in your program, right? What do you want? Like this doesn't make sense because name is a string. But if I had to do
Right.
age, so I know age is integer. So I will automatically do it int. Let's say enter the price of milk. That goes in float, right? I know it could be 18.5 per liter. I'm just making up numbers
Right.
here. So then I
Right.
know it
Right.
should be float. So now you just do it as float. So what happens? Okay, that's a good point. If I still give it as age, okay, let's not do age. Age doesn't make sense. Let's do price. Okay. price equal to input the price of the milk. Now, if I print price and let's see what happens.
It will remove the decimal value.
Exactly. So it's only going to take 18. What happened? Internal value for input. Okay, so it even errored out before because we are asking it to convert to as int, but we are giving it as a float value. So see, it even didn't come here. It already failed because integer
Yes.
18.5 is not an integer. So clearly tells me I have to use float.
So if we typecasted price itself, would that make a difference?
We typecast the price. That's what we're doing. This is typecasting price
No,
only.
like the variable price.
This is typecasting variable price only, Najam. See, the
Okay.
input that you're getting here, see, price is
Mhm.
not defined. What you're saying is if it was price was already defined to 18.5, that is a different thing. We're not defining it before, right? We're just
Okay.
initializing it right here. And the way we are initializing it that we want, so the way it executes is, okay, Python comes here, right? Line number 17, it sees price, okay, I don't have a variable named price. That means it's a new variable, okay. What is it assigned to? Because equal to is assignment operator. The next line is float. Okay, so now it knows I'm expecting a float value. Fair enough. Now it sees this bracket. Okay. Oh, so this is an input function. Now what will input function do? It will call the input function. It will pass this as the parameter. That's how you see this part when you run it, right? On your screen. That all is done by input function. You are not doing it. You're not printing this right here. That is the input function doing it for you. Remember that we are not printing enter the price of milk, did we? We did not use print statement for enter the price of milk. We still got that statement here because that is what input function is doing for you. So then it comes here. This is a variable that you passed to input function. Then you passed 18.5. That goes back to the input function. So input is expecting another argument from you from the command line. Remember, that's why it is stopped here. So right now,
So
this is
it
your
will
input
always go for
function.
float, right?
Yes, for
Instead of
this
integer.
example. For this example, yes. So what is happening is right now in this is the input function that is waiting. Your Python interpreter is stuck here right now, right here. It is still waiting. It has done half the job. Now, second job is it knows because that's how your input function is written internally that it is waiting for you to enter an input. Now, when I give this 18.5 and I press enter, that is when this line completes. Now, what happens is when this line completes, only this line. Look at my what I'm highlighting. So, what is this converted as? Anybody can tell me? Only
Uh,
that portion.
float. Okay. No. So my question
No, no, no,
is
no, no,
okay.
no, no, Najim. That is
Uh,
not float. That's why I'm explaining you. Hold on. That is still this 18.5 as a string. This line is equivalent to
Yes.
is equivalent to this yet. Let me put double quotes. It makes it easier to understand. You have to understand this, guys. Very important. Now so what happens now? So this is converted to this, right? Now going back, what happens in the next step? Float of 18.5 string. What is the output for this? That is nothing but 18.5. And where is this going? This is getting stored in price. So actually, you're not even typecasting price. You don't even know what price is going to be at the end of it. But you're using this to tell the interpreter what you want. So now, finally, price is storing 18.5. This is the way. Always remember this, guys. Input function returns you a string. Whatever you are entering here, remember we spoke in string class, whatever is inside quotes, there is it doesn't matter, you can put junk characters, you can put this, whatever you want to do. So now it's up to you when you're programming it how you want to use that. If you want to use it as input, then sorry, integer, then you have to give int. If you want to use it as float, then you give float. If you want to use it complex number, you give us complex number, whatever you want to do. So that's very important.
okay. So line number 18. Can you enter another line above that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, can you put the float? So type float and in the brackets write price. And if we remove the float from line number 17,
Yeah, that is the same thing. We're just doing it in one line.
I think this is the question that he was asking, the person who asked about dynamic and static
No,
type.
no, no, that was not my question. My question was,
Yeah, I
let's
don't know
say
your question.
if I'm entering a integer or a float, or I can enter anything from the input, right? So can the Python dynamically understand whether it is a
Yeah,
float or an integer?
I
That
understood
was
your
my question.
question. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's what I was explaining. So your question was this: when you're putting this 18.5, we know this is float, right? So why do we really need this? Why not automatically price gets the value as float of 18.5? Because
Correct.
like I was telling you, right? Input, that's why I showed you. So right now, if you remove that float, price will not have this. Price will have, what will price have? The value as this. And remember, like I said in my strings class, right? Doesn't matter what you have inside the quotes. It could be a float variable, it could be junk, it doesn't matter. So that's why you need an explicit float in this case. It's just that they decided to use the string here. Every compiler has a different, every programming language has a different way of doing it. Some use string as default, some use int as default. It's totally up to you. I mean, it's totally up to them, sorry. But just remember, this will always give you a string. And whatever way you want to use it, you have to use it. You have to change it. So everybody's clear with this? No more questions on this? Okay.
Good.
Yeah, we're
Thanks.
going to use input a lot and you're going to keep forgetting this again and again. I'll remind you about this class. I'm telling you right now. So try to keep up with that. So now let's see some more examples on if. So we just now we saw only if else. Let's see if, and there's one more thing called as if else if. Let me make another. So what does this mean? If, and then there is elif, and then there is else. So we saw that thing, right? So voting was very simple example. Either you are above 18 or you're not, right? So only two options or two choices. So either you are able to, or you're allowed to vote or you're not allowed to vote. But what if there was a system or there was a programming need where you wanted to develop, let's say, um, I don't know, majority of you guys are from where, but I'm just going to use Bangalore because I've lived in Bangalore for a long time. And they just started metro sometime back, right? So let's say you were writing a program for the metro local rail line for them. So so how would you do that? So basically what it means is you would have a lot of different combinations. For example, one rail line could go to the airport. The other can go to, there's a place called Marathili. I used to live there in Bangalore. Then there's another place called Sarjapur, and there's another place called HSR. So see, there's so many choices or so many combinations could be possible for a particular metro line to run from one place to another. So let's say so now you as a user, if you're using this program or let's say an app, which tells you which, and they are all, let's say for sake of simplicity, they're all color coded. So Marathili one is, let's say, a red line. Airport, let's say, is a yellow line, and so on and so on forth. So now you as a user, how will you know which colored line the metro you have to pick to go from this place to this place? So you're going to interact it with this program. So what is the first thing you would need? Let's say a variable called route, right? You want to describe your route. So again, I'm using the input function. So enter your route here. So let's say, let me first define the statement. So if you're going to Marathali, you use a yellow line. Guys, I'm just building all this up just to make it easy for you. Don't think this is really true. Let's say you want to go to airport, then you have a green line. Okay, we'll just take 3 for now. And there are actually more places, but that's okay. So now you're saying enter the route. So the way you will think for this program is, what are my inputs? It could be these, right? Let's say just sake of simplicity, we only have 3 towns. So what are these? These are nothing but strings, right? So let the input be, and we already know input takes the value as string. So let it be just like that. So now my route can have either of these 3 values. Now my if else start. If route, simple logic, equal to Marathali. Okay. Colon, remember condition is followed by colon. Print, whatever language you use, take a yellow line. Simple as that. Now see the magic. Now I'm saying elif route equal to search upper, then print, take a, what is it, red line. Elif route equal to airport, print, take a green line. Simple, very simple thing. Now there is a possibility, right? You might now my app only provides routes for these three. What if you provided something else? I'm going to call it junk, or you can even say HSR, but HSR doesn't exist here. So it all lands to those junk values. So then you can say else print route doesn't exist. So now let's run this program. See the first thing, because I use the input function, we just saw, right? It is going to stop the command and it's going to wait for the command output. Now I'm giving Marathelli. Simple, guys. It's going to print, take a yellow line. Why it's saying route does not exist? Anybody?
Wrong spelling.
That's correct. So I think I added a space or something. You have to be very careful, guys, when you're giving this. Take a yellow line. See? Simple. Nothing fancy, nothing very difficult that you cannot understand. So now when I gave the route as Marathelli, it came to this if statement. It says the condition is true. Yes, right? And that's why it's printed take a yellow line. And that's it. You don't have to worry about any of this. That's how your if, else, or elif works. If any of this statement matches, sorry, not this part. If any of the statement matches, it just prints it and gets out and doesn't do any of the statements following it. So just to prove that, print, we are done. I'm going to add another print statement here, which is basically after this whole if elif block. So this is one block you can say. And now we're printing, we are done. But when I gave Marathelli, it did not worry about all these. It directly went to, after Marathelli, come on, it went to take a yellow line. First it printed that, and then it said we are done. It did not worry about any of this. This is how your if elif works. Now elif means if, what if there was not Marathali? If I wanted to give airport, right? So that means I'm going to use elif and it should match this now and it should print take a green line. Let's see that. So now I'm giving airport. See, take a green line. Matches this guy. Nothing else is printed. Neither this, neither this. And we are done is getting printed because this is after all of this. So it's very simple, right, guys? What if I give some junk value? So route does not exist because what happens is it first matches this guy, doesn't match. Then it goes to this guy, doesn't match. Then it goes to airport, doesn't match. Then we have a else statement. So that matches. Else means if none of these is true, all of these are false, then it is going to go here. That's why it says route doesn't exist. So if I did not have a else statement, do you think it will still work? Will it give an error? No, it won't give an error. So I'm still giving the junk value. All it says is we are done because we're not printing any of this because the route did not match any of this, and that's it. We are out of it. But to make it more beautiful or whatever you want to say, we use this else part. So now when we do that, it just matches else and it prints route doesn't exist. It's as simple as that, guys. I'm guessing everybody understood this. I don't have to spend more time on this. But this is how your if, elif, and else works. So elif is all those statements you want to print or you want to put where you want to see other options than this option.
So elif is like else if.
Yeah, it is a sort of else if.
Okay.
The keyword is elif. If you write else if, it will give you an error. But you're right, it is short of else if. So now tell me what will happen if I gave this. Will it work?
But,
Will it
but
print
Ankit,
take a green line?
No.
Yeah, go ahead. Somebody had a
No,
question.
no.
after the line 10th, right? After the line bracket, if we keep enter, that will be coming as an indentation, right? Not goes back to the 0th
This one?
position of.
This one you're saying?
Yeah, can you just keep the cursor on enter? It will directly go to the indentation, right?
Oh,
Then
you're
we have
saying
to.
this.
Yeah,
It goes. Yeah, that's because VS Code doesn't know when are you stopping this if part, right? So you can actually do this print. This is second line in yellow. So now what will happen is, okay, I'll come back to this. What happened? Route doesn't exist. Why?
You didn't enter Marath early.
It didn't ask me. Okay. See? So now it is printing the first one. Take a yellow line. Also, it is printing this one. This is the second line in the yellow. But if you do this, so I purposely put it back. That means only this part is considered the part of this colon. So this is one element. This is a separate element. This is another element. LF, LF. So that is the point of indentation, guys. The way indentation works is whatever is indentated. So now it is indentated, right? So both these lines are a part of this condition. But the moment you take it out, only this line is a part of indentation. So this will actually error out because the way if else works is it takes if and then it takes elif. It doesn't take anything in between, but this is coming in between. That's why it's going to error out. So if you the person who asked, if you look at this, this is doing the exact same thing, right? You can actually, you might get confused because I'm putting a space here just for brevity. But if you see, it's the same thing. So when I give the else portion, it is going to print this, but it is going to print this in all of them because this is outside of the indentation of all the if and elifs. You get the
got
idea?
it. Thank you. Got it. Thank
Okay, perfect. So now I'll come back to my example, which was this. Come fast. So what will be? Will we take a green line? If I give airport?
No, it will say that route doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Okay, it will say route doesn't exist, and you are right. You all of you know the reason. Now we have read this. So this is where your programming skills come into picture. User can put anything. He will be confused. Why, when I'm putting airport, you already gave me this choice. Why is it not showing me this? So how can you make this program better to even take this?
Case hold.
Exactly. We saw that yesterday. So what do? We put case fold everywhere. Or easy ways, you can even have a new
Two
variable
lower
for
or
it.
two upper.
Two upper again, you are forcing it to only compare for 1 second. What happened? You're forcing it to be two upper and two lower, right? Now in this way, what is happening is you can even, so I'll show you basically. So now I can write the small airport, right? Why is it saying route? Did I not save it? Case for Martha.
Ankit, I have one doubt here.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you're telling equal to airport, okay, I understood. Okay. Actually, airport means it is taking as a string, right? So it should not be entire string it is taking, right?
Yeah, this is taking entire string.
So when you give small in the input, so it
Yep.
is not.
Exactly, that is the problem. So problem is my comparison string is always expecting it for caps A. That's why it gave me route doesn't exist. So first of all, I have to change these. Now anything that I enter would be matched to this, whether it's uppercase or lowercase. I have to run it again. Let's see. See, take a green line. So now you can say, Ankit, you're giving the same one. How about this? Take a green line. Even though my matching thing doesn't have a caps A. Even one more thing, you can write AIR PORT. See, everything works. Now AIR is caps. That is the beauty of, or that is another use case of case fold. So that's how you have to think, guys. What can a user go wrong? What can they do? And that's how you change your program accordingly. So it's as simple as that. So any confusion so far? This we already
No,
saw
no.
also, right? Yes, for. Okay, so I think we are pretty much at time, but I want to talk about for loops. So let me just give you guys a very brief of for loop, and then we'll call it off, and then we'll do tomorrow more stuff. So how does for loop works? This is one of the most important concepts that you have to understand, guys. If you don't understand for loop in any language, you cannot do anything. Trust me. For loop functions in different different.
Ankit, sorry,
Yeah,
are we covering this? You're covering a for loop as well today only?
no, I'm just giving a brief. I'm not going to cover, of course. It's going to be very
Okay,
late.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's almost 12.
yeah. No, I understand, sir. No, just 2 more minutes. I'm just giving a brief so that we start from here tomorrow.
Okay.
So we've seen in parameter in keyword, right? What it does, it basically does a lookup. So we use that a lot in for loop. So what is the syntax is all I'm going to tell today. What is the syntax is for let's say iteration variable and then in, and then it takes a sequence or a map, and then your statements. So think about this, guys. By tomorrow, when you come to the class, this is what the syntax of for is. So here is your iteration variable. You can take a variable. So whenever I write something like this, it means you can replace it with whatever you want to, but it should follow the thing that we are putting inside. So when we'll see tomorrow how for loop, how for loop works is it needs an iteration variable, okay, and then it needs an in parameter or the in keyword, and then it needs either a sequence or a map. We haven't discussed map yet, so for now you just concentrate on sequence, and then a colon, just like we saw in if condition, and then the statements, whatever you want to write. It could be print, it could be an if condition, it could be anything. So that's how for statement works. So think about it, because we're going to talk about this tomorrow, and I'll well, tomorrow I mean Thursday, not tomorrow. Tomorrow is Wednesday. So we'll talk about a lot more examples and everything, and I'll give you some tasks and assignments as well. So that's it for today, guys. It's already too late. So we'll meet on Wednesday, same time. If there's any change, I'll let you. Sorry, Thursday, same time. I'll let you know if there's any other change. All right, guys.
Yep.
Talk to you on Thursday. Take care. Bye bye.